Well, a very good evening, race fans, and welcome to the International Racing League Season 2. This is the penultimate round of the International Racing League's second season. My name is Webbo, here to make my debut for the league, and looking forward to whatever this race has in store for us. I trust that you're all comfortable and ready for a good night's racing. I certainly am, and I've been looking over the Drivers' Championship as things stand. Well, currently we have a champion crowned already with 2 rounds to go. That is Moist on 369 points, but it is all to play for in the minor placings, especially the podium of the season. That sees Spud on 138, Nike on 129, Sticky is on 127, and Kaz on 124, Ollie on 115, and Jay, the only one else who has over 100 points to his name currently. In the Constructors' Championship, Aston Martin have already secured that in terms of the first place, and they find themselves on 487 points. AlphaTauri are on 267, followed by Alfa Romeo on 225, Williams on 206. Mercedes have 159. And then some way back, we have Haas on 88, Alpine on 39, Ferrari on 29, and McLaren on just 8 so far. Well, as I say, looking forward now to enjoying this race with you all. I hope that if you're watching, you will give me some fan content to talk about, and we'll get on our way very soon here to see who is first out of the pits. Of course, a standard qualifying session here for you. That is a short qualifying around the Brazilian track at Sao Paulo. We have our first car on track, so why don't we get ourselves out there and check it out. Who have we got on track? Well, I shall find out in very soon. It looks to be Ollie, the Ector Ollie, who is first out on track. And here we have the glorious Sauber Alfa Romeo. Call it what you will, but he is ready to attack this lap straight away, which is what we want to see. What you'll find out, of course, is that commentators love cars that come out early, and they tend to get the first flying lap here, of course, because they're the only one on track. So warming those soft tyres, and getting ready then with 16 and a half minutes remaining on the clock at this current time, in the shadow of the favelas and down where the lake of the Brazilian Grand Prix surrounds, at the foot of the circuit, before heading in now to the Bico de Pato, or Duck's Bill shaped corner, to finish out the second sector. As we're looking at the form book, and it obviously looks like Moist is very likely to take his Aston Martin all the way to a fantastic victory or near victory here tonight. I wonder if we'll be trying any last to first challenges for us. Well, we're going to attack the racetrack now, sitting on board with the Ector Ollie in that Alfa Romeo, as we brake heavily into the Curva 1 through the S Dolcena, and watch for the car to get a little bit lively over those curbs. You can't be too aggressive, and we fire down the Retta Aposta then for the first time, picking up that first sector time now, and then we're braking heavily shortly afterwards into the Ciudad do Lago as we run again across those curbs. Keep the smoothest possible line as we're going to throw the car into Ferradura and then gently just shave the speed off. Hopefully that car's going to get out of the way. Yes, indeed it is. As we run then into SA, Pinheirino is next. It comes upon you very, very quickly, and he was very quick through there as well, was the Ector Ollie. Down then into Bico de Pato once again, but now at full flying speed. Looks like he's got this car on rails. I should expect that the drivers have got their setups very nicely dialed in by this point in the game maturation, and we fire out of Yunsao through Subida dos Box for the pit straight, as it is not particularly straight, uphill of course. Don't go across that line too much on the pit entry to strike the first punch, and that is with the Ector Ollie 108.276, and of course the first of the fast laps here on the group. It looks like Captain Nike is out in the AlphaTauri. Let's check him out. Moist is taking his time in the pits and just taking it nice and steady as Captain Nike then. Yellow helmet in the AlphaTauri. Of course, we'll be getting used to calling these the V-Carbs this year, but for now we'll stick with AlphaTauri, who I heard are now the principal sponsor of the FIA's team uniforms, which is quite an odd situation there to have a linked team sponsoring the clothing, a fashion brand such as it is. AlphaTauri then on board with Captain Nike to run through. How will he compare up there to Director Ollie? Well, he will go second by 0.2 of a second. Mal Moses has gone into third position now, dropped down by Captain Nike, and we also have Floyd Pink and Speedy Spud out there in the mostly carbon coloured Mercedes is Floyd Pink. Another yellow helmet, blue chevron on the helmet, pointing the way. And again, trying to avoid traffic, does so nicely. Maybe slightly more hesitant there through the Pinarino corner than we saw with Director Ollie, who is back into the pits for a new set of soft tyres to take on this racetrack once again. You can get plenty of laps in this qualifying session. Nice short track here for the drivers, and all the hard work done now by Floyd Pink, who will now run through and just try and complete this lap, set a safe banker. Chuck Norris has gone on a 109.558. I've been trying to think of all of my Chuck Norris jokes in preparation for tonight, but I'm pretty sure you've heard them all. Chuck Norris in fourth, Spud down into sixth, Floyd Pink in fifth position, and those are our drivers out on the track at the moment. We have Ash though next. I'm going to try and truncate these names in the beautiful Williams car, but just tripping over the track limits abuse issues there for Ash, unfortunately, and has disqualified himself from this particular lap. Not the session. It's just not able to complete this flying lap. He may elect to stay out there though, and just rein in his temptation to push too hard through the early S corners. And then hopefully he'll be back out there for a second attempt at the lap. He's able to have invalidated early enough in that lap in order to recover the required battery deployment that he might need. And we will join the pink and blue Alpine as he also invalidates, sadly. Marco yet to leave a time on the timing board. So we will check out what is Ash going to do, I wonder. He will have been able to treat this car gently, recharge the battery potentially, and then head and try and make a flying lap now. I think he is going to go for it. So we'll stay with Ash, but Moist is out on track at this time, so he is busy doing a flyer lap as well. We will go through the Estor Senna now and try and see where Ash is. I'm expecting no fireworks up ahead from Moist. Down onto the Retta Reposta goes Ash. Purple first sector for Moist. We'll just ignore that for now because it is the first flying laps for everybody. It tends to show purple for everyone on their early laps. But we'll look at the end of the lap as he now runs through. Fiendishly difficult, tight and twisty section of the racetrack here for Moist. And we'll pick up the second timing sector around here as he heads into Yun Sao. That's a 51.2 for him. Ash is next to trip over that one. That's a 51.6, so Strike certainly ahead of Ash as far as we can see. Will this be the current reigning champion at the moment about to take the next pole position? It absolutely will. By just over 1/10 of a second goes Moist. It was not night and day the difference, but Ash is now up to fourth, and Ash has gone on a 108.446 with a good solid lap. Marco then, the only driver yet to set a flying lap. We will join him at the tail end of his lap and see where he manages to put himself here. The RFC, I wonder if that stands for Rugby Football Club at all. But Marco goes up the hill over the start-finish line for P7, 109.421. Currently, though, after the first laps have all been completed, that is Moist. It looks like Sticky has joined as well shortly into the session. A little bit late, but hopefully we'll be able to start his lap very shortly. Like I say, Strike M Moist, our champion of this season 2. Is on the fastest lap so far, but he doesn't have it all his own way. I wonder if we'll see any of our drivers dip down into the 107s before we finish this qualifying session. 9 minutes to go of this qualifying session we have, and hopefully you are enjoying it so far. We are looking forward to a 50% race distance, a 1 or potentially 2 stop race for the drivers, depending on tyre choice and aggressiveness. Here we have then Sticky, who is next out to be the first to put his first time down, and we will see how his times are looking, as I'm expecting to see Ollie on track once again. Let's just join him. Whereabouts is Ollie? Well, he's actually down on his time, so we won't pay too much attention to him at the moment. 2.7 seconds down on his time, it seems, as he runs through here. Now, Sticky Icky is just avoiding the traffic. He's got the slight distraction of a car at the apex of Descida do Lago currently, but managing to navigate his way through and sweeping on past the other car. So then trying to launch the car just a small lift in 6th gear into Ferradura, then drag the brakes slightly to drop it and hug that apex of La Jarina, and before you know it, you're through SA and Pinerino and heading down towards Bico de Pata. You may see cars launch an attack here on lap 1 down into Bico de Pata. We will wait and see, of course, as Sticky now runs towards the end, and the final braking zone of Yun Sao is next. 51.7 for Sticky on this one. Maybe he's just playing it cool, we shall see, as he runs tight to the pit wall, shortest possible line to the start-finish line. Sticky then from 10th goes 5th on a 108.641. Captain Nike is on a lap at the moment, and he is also a little bit slow compared to his previous lap. So it looks like just outlaps abundant at the moment. Let's check out Mal Moses though. Where is he? He is in a hunt, but he's invalidated, sadly. Just 46 thousandths of a second slower than his fastest time so far, but it wasn't quite enough to push for the next one. Floyd is on track. Floyd is busy on track and working the wheel as he drops down towards that Descida do Lago track corner once again. Didn't manage to catch his sector time, so we'll hang on to his cockpit for the preceding corners here. That middle sector really comparatively very long in the race in terms of the circuit configuration, but it looks like we've got beautifully dry conditions this time for qualifying. Floyd runs through the tricky Mergulo corner. Now it should be fairly straightforward. Just make sure you get an early apex, early exit of Yun Sao to close this one out. Try and ignore the sun streaks in your eyes as you head up the hill. That gets pretty dangerous, that corner in the wet. But we go uphill towards the start-finish line, and Floyd does not improve. A 1.2 seconds slower lap this time than he managed before. And there we have Chuck Norris in a Ferrari with an invalidated lap, sadly. We will have to just maybe join him off his on trackside camera here. Just check the car is fully intact and there's been no issues with damage, but thankfully looks all to the good for Chuck Norris. Can I call him Chuck or Mr. Norris, sir? It's probably safer to use Mr. Norris, sir, isn't it? Well, anyway, he is heading up and I think he may be pitting. He is. So it looks like it's Ash who's out on track at the moment. Ash pushing hard over the first sector. He gets a purple first sector by 7 thousandths of a second. Ash pushing hard here from P4. He needs to gain 0.3 of a second to be on terms with Moist, and I'm sure he's going to be doing his level best to get there for us. Hugging the apexes with precision, hoping to release the Kraken of his skill set. Yellow flags here and there, but that tends not to worry our drivers in qualifying too much. The only slight inconvenience is we can't see the clock. 82 thousandths of a second, he is only adrift. A stellar exit out of Yun Sao will do it for Ash. He's right in the hunt here. He will leapfrog at least 1 position, maybe 2, but he's bailed from the lap and he's heads into the pits. He wasn't happy with that exit out of Yun Sao, and that is the trip over for him. Looks like Floyd is just picking up some marbles and some extra grass on the tyres. I don't think he wants to use these for the rest of the race meet, as we wait then for the minutes to count down and we look out for the drivers. We've got Spud out on track, we've got Nike out on track, Captain Nike. I don't know if he prefers the American pronunciation, Captain Nike. I'm going to bet on Nike for now. as we've also got Spud down in P7 in the AlphaTauri. We have Captain Nike who runs through. Of course, do let me know if you're watching with me live, if I mispronounce anybody's name or wrongly gender them. I'd be very interested to know if I make any errors that way. It's fairly safe to assume most F1 gamers in league racing identify as he, him, but if not, then please let me know. Then over the line goes Speedy Spud, 1/10 of a second away, and this looks like a very slow charge lap for Spud. We'll see if Captain Nike is pushing any harder. He's not, so maybe doing that little strategy of bringing the tyres in for an extra lap here, these two, and they of course have that prerogative and the opportunity, being out of the pits just slightly out of sequence from the other drivers. They appear to be on fast laps. They are not actually on fast laps. I'm going to ride with Ollie for now on his outlap and see if he does the same thing. Well, Floyd has retired from the session. He will start no higher than 8th, sadly. So Floyd has exited from this one. Ollie has invalidated his outlap, but that's not important. We've got a fast lap potentially happening here for Moist. No, it's not a fast lap at all. Everybody running that charge lap option. I think it will be Captain Nike who'll be the first one running hard on the on a push lap here. Here we go then. On board with P3, Captain Nike, and his last Yahoo lap here, unless he makes a very early mistake and can bail. Greedy through the Estocena, we like to see it, and he runs then out of Curva del Sol and tries to point the car in a straight line towards the braking area of Decido del Lago. Brake late. Ollie has retired from the session early as well, so P2 for Ollie. He will not improve. We'll ride on board though with Captain Nike, who picks up a purple first sector. He's on for a potential front row, possible even pole position as he's gunning for it here. Captain Nike will run into the second sector, very smooth. There's some tyre markings on the inside of that corner that have developed through the course of our session, and Captain Nike is really putting in the excellent track positioning here. We'll get it in an update very shortly. Watch for that time to change. And he's quick. He's almost 0.2 of a second to the good in a purple sector. Has he chosen the best moment here? Perhaps not, because Moist has still got the opportunity to strike at the end of this qualifying session. But for now, Captain Nike will go up the hill. He'll be praying for those gears to charge, to click by, and he launches it. And in fact, he did beat his own time, but not by enough to depose Director Ollie. And Moist is down on his first sector, so Moist is not able to fully defend here. Potentially Ash has the opportunity. He may be within range. It will need to be a transformative lap by the other drivers if they wish to try and get on this front row. At the moment, it's Ollie and Captain Nike in second and third. Can Ash do anything about it? Can Strike Moist manage to launch himself away from this group and get into the 107's? Got to be his main aim here today. And he's quicker. He's quicker in sector 2 by almost a 1/10 of a second. Can he do it? Can he get himself further away from this group and fully defend this potential pole position? This is just for glory. Will he have it? He does go faster at 108.048, a new fastest lap from Moist. And we ride then with Ash to see how he goes. I think that's a yellow. That is a green personal best first sector. It's not enough though to take pole position at the moment, and an invalidation, just getting a little bit greedy on the run through there that time. But it's Sticky then, who is a little bit quicker than his fastest time through sector 1, but he's running wide, and it looks like, unless something absolutely incredible happens, it looks like our front row is at very least decided. Sticky is still on a fast lap though. He's hoping to get himself up from 6th position on the grid for our race. Welcome if you're just joining us. Look forward to enjoying your comments throughout the Grand Prix. But for now, we're just closing out qualifying. Ollie and Captain Nike have had enough. Moist though, clearing away by nearly 1/4 of a second faster than the rest of the field at this time. And Sticky trying to lift himself from 6th position. Several drivers not defending this potential lap here. Sticky, the last one to finish off his lap. Will he lift himself higher than 6th place? We will see in just a matter of a few seconds. I don't think so. I think it's going to be Moist on pole, Ollie in second, and Captain Nike in third. a fantastic qualifying session. Mouth-watering prospect of the Brazilian Grand Prix ahead. This is the penultimate round of Season 2, and we look forward to seeing how the race plays out with both drivers and constructors champions already crowned. The fight will be on for those minor placings and how the drivers can try and get the second and third places in the championship as we run through. But taking this race on its own merit will be my main task here today. This is Webbo on the mic, and hopefully you will be in position and ready to enjoy our Grand Prix soon to come. Already picked up lots of detritus on the side of the Alfa Romeo, has Sticky, and he's just on a little bit of a show run now because he could retire from the session for us, as could Moist. But for now, there we go. Session over, and it's Moist leading. 6th place for Sticky, but our results will come through shortly. For those of you taking notes at home, we have Moist on a 108.048. 0.2 of a second away from Director Ollie, the Dutch driver there for Alfa Romeo on the second row with him. Then comes Captain Nike in 3rd position. We have Ash in 4th, all within sight of the pace of the pole position holder. Then comes Spud and Sticky with Marco. Mal Moses is in 8th with Floyd in 9th, and bringing up the rear will be Chuck Norris in the Ferrari, the sister Ferrari to Mal Moses. We have an international grid for you here today, and hopefully we have a very, very good race to come. As the timer counts down, we'll have a customary pause here for the drivers to see them select their strategies, and hopefully I will be able to work out here whether there is a quick, if you're watching with me live, let me know if there is a parade lap, a formation lap or not, because I am afraid I have neglected to check that one out as we go. We've got a 5-minute break. Okay, so we will we'll be going in 5 minutes, so you have time to grab a drink, get ready, and get yourself underway. I will go quiet for just a moment then, and then we'll resume as the grid is being formed. I like to see it. Retro reviews. You've got a drink and snacks. I hope you're not snorting your snacks. Snacks sorted. Tell me what you're munching down on right now, and what's the drink in your hand. I don't have time for that kind of thing, unfortunately. While I'm commentating, I'm more likely to drop a drink than actually be able to enjoy it. But yeah, let me know. It's good to hear. I wonder if anyone's sitting there with the popcorn ready for this penultimate race. Excellent. I'm glad you have got the popcorn ready. Retro reviews. Do we have any advance on popcorn in the snack department from our viewers? Do make sure you drop a follow, a like, a subscribe while you're waiting in this intermission. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay, guys, it's time for the Grand Prix. We'll have the formation lap. First off, of course, we've got Moist starting in the Aston Martin, our champion, straight away in that pole position and getting a good launch initially in his formation lap. So just running through the order, we have Strike first, followed by, in the Alfa Romeo, the Hector Ollie in second position. Next up, Captain Nike in the Alpha Tauri. A very topsy-turvy grid if you are only used to watching F1 on TV. We've got the Williams of Ash next up and weaving on that Retta Raposta straight. He is, as he just turns in right now. Car number 13 is Ash. Next up we have the sister Alpha Tauri of Speedy Spud. You know, we only have 10 cars. We could have one driver per team here, potentially, but I know attendance is different. Well, anyway, Speedy Spud is in P5. Then we've got Sticky Icky in the second of the Alfa Romeos. He's chosen the medium tyres straight away. An interesting decision for him. Let's have a check through those tyres. Well, it's medium and it's hard tyres for the drivers here today. Very interesting decisions from them. I'm sure they'll be looking forward to getting a better set of tyres on later on into the race. Moist will be slow from the start in comparison to Ollie and Nike in second and third on the medium tyres. Then we have Marco in seventh in the Alpine, with the pink side pods today. Then comes one of the Ferraris, the lead Ferrari driver today, Mal Moses. Going to have to get a move on here with Floyd in ninth position in the Mercedes, as they have at the tail of the field in the second Ferrari, Chuck Norris. But right up at the front and almost back to their grid positions for a 36-lap race here. Mandatory pit stop, of course, must change tyre compound from the drivers, but we will wait and see as Moist gets himself organised, gets ready for this race. And we'll be ready to move very, very shortly. Let's try and find you a good camera angle, shall we? Here we go. We're ready for the start lights as the final two cars move into their positions at the tail of the field. We see a green flag at the back of the circuit. Oh, I think that might be a Brazilian flag coming through, and we'll watch for the lights. We're ready to race, are we? The revs are building. The excitement is too. And here we go. Time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. And it's dropped the clutch and go, go, go from the start. Moist with a slight wiggle on coming out of the corner, but up from P3, challenging for P2 and possibly even for the lead of the race comes Captain Nike with an absolute bullet of a start away from the gun. And this time, though, it looks like Moist just defending carefully, but he'll be very vulnerable down this Retro Riposta. He goes to the middle of the circuit, but already it looks like Captain Nike is on the hunt, but he's not quite there for challenging for that first position. But a great start from him, and he manages to consolidate that position. Really clean start from the drivers so far, at least. As we run through the order, it's looking fantastic from everybody all the way down to the rear of the field, but Moist on the hard tyres, still looking for the opportunity. Let's ride with Captain Nike as he tries to find out where is Moist going to be vulnerable on those cold hard tyres. It'll be exiting out of slow corners, and we'll be giving up a lot of slipstream here to Captain Nike as he gets into Yuan Sao. Slight hesitation at the apex there from Captain Nike. Doesn't look like he's going to be quite within range to battle as we run through down the order, and it looks like possibly Sticky has got himself tucked up into the rear wing of the car in front. Automatic fastest lap for the lead driver, of course, on this first lap, but running through and very, very clean from these drivers. Some quality driving in this field as Chuck Norris goes through the first couple of corners, and we go back to the lead of the race as we wait then. This is often a circuit that lends itself to very close and hard-fought racing. A lot of drivers able to use the slipstream and then, of course, the DRS later on throughout the course of the Grand Prix. Of course, DRS has not yet been enabled, so the drivers don't have that tool available to them. But Captain Nike already getting those tyres up to temperature and starting to pressurise our champion Moist. So will he get himself into a position to action and overtake, or is he quite happy actually sitting here behind this driver? You've got to fancy, though, that anybody stuck behind a hard tyre shod car will be very, very keen to get themselves ahead and build the gap, because that is just going to be advantage hard tyres the longer they can stay with the pace of the immediate grip on those medium tyres. Here then comes Captain Nike with a good slipstream once again then, and catching, and in fact the new fastest lap goes from Captain Nike, just to underline how much he caught the leader of the race there on that lap through. DRS has been enabled for the next detection point. Captain Nike doesn't want to wait for it. He opens the slot at the rear of the wing, and he's straight past in a straight line, and that was easy candy from a baby stuff that time for Nike, who gets himself ahead of Moist. But Moist too wise to really fight it too hard at this stage. Doesn't want to bring the Hector Ollie into the mix. Quite happy to make this a two-horse race at this stage. But so Nike, the new leader, on lap 3 of 36. And we have a nice tight battle here for the entire grid, actually, separated by very, very little. Still just sort of 1 or 2 turns of the racetrack, and the entire snake of the drivers in one line, of course. Then we've got, so next up, we're riding on board with Moist, looking at the leader through the halo window, squinting at the sun, and he'll hope to try and do straight back to Captain Nike what he had done to him the lap prior. Looks like Ash also catching on the hard tyres, catching the Hector Ollies on the medium tyres as they run through. Captain Nike unstopped all the taps that time to put in a second fastest lap of the race in 3 laps as they start lap 4. It does look like we've got Ash here in striking distance. We'll ride on board, see if he can use the DRS. It's not quite enough, but shortly you've got to fancy he'll be right on the attack. He's next up then, P4 for Ash. Then we've got Sticky Icky in 5th, Speedy Spud, Marco, Mal Moses, Floyd and Chuck Norris, pretty much as they started from this race. No penalties on the cars yet, of course, so the big gain on Captain Nike and 1 place gain for Sticky Icky. A very, very patient start here from all the drivers, so not too dramatic from everybody. We'll go back to the tyre wear, because that is going to be pretty crucial here today. As then you see Chuck Norris is just dropping back here, 3 seconds off the back of the grid at the moment. And it looks like Ash then 7/10 of a second behind. We've got Marco, Danny 7th, though hunting P6. And he's got the benefit of a double toe, but it is a DRS train here for Marco in the Alpine. He's going to struggle, and in fact, he tries to take avoiding action, gets himself out onto the grass. Ash has picked up a 3-second penalty already. That is very early in the race, and it looked like Mal Moses also struggling down in P8. Looks like possibly Floyd is going to have an opportunity here to take the Ferrari, but they've actually still got the DRS from the car in front, so it's not going to be this lap for Floyd. Up at the front, though, Moist is back in the hunt. Moist is right there. Looking for an opportunity to get the lead once again, just behind Captain Nike, who has not been able to distance him. Must have been a slower lap 4 for Captain Nike, presumably having to now conserve the tyre usage a little bit, because he knows the car behind has an advantage on outright pace, on championship points of course, but also on the tyres at this stage, of course, in this race. So running and out of Yonsao comes Moist. Half a second deficit to the car in front, make that 4.5 tenths down to 4 tenths of a second. He'll be right there. Will he go for it into turn 1 or wait for the second DRS? That's usually the more popular decision from the drivers, to wait for the DRS zone, where you do not have the possibility of being retaliated upon getting that apex. Once again, you wait for the DRS to open. But it's a short straight, that retro-post. You do have to be within about 2 or 3 tenths of a second to make the move stick down there. This, though, the closest battle on the field, and it's the battle for first, second, and just about for third place just behind. It looks like a change of position. That is Spud dropping down the order. Spud down to 9th position. Chuck Norris will not catch him before he resumes racing speed. But Floyd then up into P8 now, and moving forward at this stage. He is on the medium tyres. Spud's still struggling, I think, on the hard tyres. Ash putting in some good laps on his hard tyres as well. We're going to have a topsy-turvy pitting decision here for the drivers. Will they pit? Will they actually, the pit stops sort of converge around half distance, as you often see on F123? Or will someone decide to fit the mediums early that is suffering on those hards at the moment? Well, Moist down to within 2 tenths of a second. It opens out through the braking and accelerating phases of the next 2 corners, but he might be in with a shot here. DRS, he's just about enough underneath the rear wing. He's going to peel across to the inside. Is he? Not quite feeling confident enough on the brakes on those hard tyres just yet. But he knows he's serving notice to Captain Nike that he's not going anywhere. Yellow helmet's very popular in the International Racing League, it seems, certainly with the fastest drivers tonight. Director Ollie is paying a very close watching brief in his Alfa Romeo, but we have lost Chuck Norris, sadly. He has gone into the pits and retired, so it looks like it could have been some damage in the early laps has led to a retirement. And he's gone and done it the very sporting way. His car will rejoin for a corner or 2, it looks like, possibly, but it has stalled and stopped at the in the pit lane. So it looks like we're going to avoid any safety car intervention. Here is then Moist using the outside line. Will he be ducking back to the inside, or is that just a reflection of how tightly Nike is hugging the pit wall and defending the potential inside move coming? That will open out the corner comparatively here for Moist, and you can see got good grip at the apex. Looks like Nike already struggling for grip, but he's not able to use the full extent of his DRS. Did look like the overspeed kind of stalled a little bit. I wonder if he's running a higher downforce setup than Captain Nike. Oh, a little miscalculation there from Nike mid-corner through the La Harina corner, excuse me. Very competitive at the head of the field here tonight, which is exactly what you want to see. Looks like Director Ollie, though, has had a poor lap the previous lap and has let the gap open up between the top two. Most will be enjoying this, safe in the knowledge he is the current champion, but probably not wanting to give up a race win nonetheless. He's done a lot of the hard work in qualifying to get that pole position. He runs alongside Captain Nike as they head down into Curve 1, and he completes the move around the outside. Very brave on the brakes, but that is the better grip section of the racetrack. Now it's time to really dial in the car, and he's had a fantastic launch out of the second two corners. That means he's now managed to extend the gap out to 0.3 of a second, and there was no defence coming on the DRS from Captain Nike that time. So Captain Nike clearly needs to now get used to a very differently handling car, because he'll be suffering in the wake and the dirty air of the Aston Martin here. So he will have been very used to driving these last couple of laps now with a clean set of air going over his front wing. Now, of course, things are a little bit different. Is it as simple as turning the wheel a little bit more? Not quite. You do have to make slightly different calculations. But if I had £1 for every time a driver struggled as soon as they'd been overtaken to adjust, well, I'd have a lot of pounds. Here comes Strike Moist then, actually extending his lead. I wonder if this is by using some ERS deployment. I'm not going to give the game away strategically for him at this stage, because I know some people have family members, or some people are even brave enough to listen to the race themselves while racing. Looks like we've got a change for position going on here. Floyd has just moved up past Marco as the gap at the front starts to extend a little bit, but that was a little bit slow away. Marco compromised through turn 1. It cost him all the way through turns 2 and 3. That means then Spud is going to be right on the hunt now. Director Ollie has obviously been off circuit and has dropped down to the tail of the field. The tail now that Chuck Norris has retired. Well, Ollie, that was not a pit stop for Ollie. Marco wearing a penalty. So now Ash has 2 penalties on the car, unfortunately. And it's nice close battling down in the minor placings here, as well as right up at the front. Let's have a look at Mal Moses in the Ferrari, trying to pass his sister constructor of the Alfa Romeo. We'll see if he can make a move this time out. 0.8 of a second the gap at the lead. That's why I'm not watching it right now. A closer battle going on between 6th and 7th, but we haven't seen these two fighting just yet. I'll try and see if the Ferrari has the grunt up the hill. Of course, identical engines in the car. These cars are all selected as identical performance anyway, but down the inside, that's a classic manoeuvre. Absolute textbook there from Mal Moses. Will it be a similar situation for Floyd? Not quite. He didn't quite get close enough. Well, Floyd still has the opportunity then to get through the next couple of corners neatly, but it looks like Sticky is coming back at the Ferrari, and he's gone down the inside, and they are being very compliant with one another. And through back goes Sticky, back into 4th, and Mal Moses, his time in P4 was very, very short indeed. 0.5 of a second the lead at the front, and it has closed back up. Of course, Strike Moist not being able to extend and stay away from Captain Nike just yet, but of course he has that tyre advantage. Captain Nike still has the hard tyres to use, and that will be difficult, especially after a pit stop. It's always difficult to put on the hard tyres unless these drivers are willing to try and take the mediums to the point late in the race where they can get away with the soft tyres, maybe even as far as lap 30. If they're running the hards, they might be able to fit the softs later on. Let's join the battle at the lead once again then, as it's closing up 0.2 of a second as they touch the brakes heading into Curve 1. And Captain Nike now with the impetus. He will suffer through this corner. And in fact, it was Moist with a good exit out of the S Dorsena and Curva do Sol. This time, though, Captain Nike not able to action the pass. You could just feel a little bit more movement on the car, perhaps mid-corner, on those long sweeping corners for Captain Nike, as the medium tyres are wearing faster than the hard tyres do, of course. We could end up with all cars on soft tyres at the end of the race. We shall see. maybe get your prediction in now. If you've been watching this series longer than I have, of course, my first race here with the league, then you can tell me what drivers tend to do with their tyres, what you're expecting to happen strategically. Normally, I would expect drivers to use the mediums for as long as possible, regardless of their strategy. They are a fantastic race tyre. And Captain Knight now, that gap opening out once again. Looks like Moist allowed him to get close enough to smell the fuel coming out of the back, but he's not allowing him the opportunity to really push. Here is Mal Moses once again with the DRS on Sticky in the Alfa Romeo and completing the move way before the corner. And he just now needs to resume his racing line and clip those apexes perfectly and try and defend the retaliatory move that is likely to come from Sticky and did before. Here is Sticky then with the DRS, and the Ferrari's given him the inside, and they're just going to play swapsies once again, and Sticky picks up that 4th place yet again. Captain Knight 4 tenths away from the lead of the race. They have a big gap though, out to P3, 4.6 seconds plus Ash's 2 penalties he's wearing on the car at the moment. Lap 13 of 36. We are storming through this race, and Moist holding on then for the time being to the lead on the hard tyres and doing incredibly well on what is a very poor and difficult to manage race tyre, but it is very predictable. As soon as you've got them warm, then you can start to rely on them more than any other tyre, of course, because their wear rate is slower, so your adjustments are so much better. And I tend to find that if you start a race on hard tyres, the race just gets better and better for you as far as grip is concerned, because you're just putting on softer, stickier, better tyres. What's hard is when you start on a really good race tyre and then you have to put the hards on, and you really suffer for it sometimes. Nice close racing then throughout the field. This is lap 14. We have the order as things stand. Let's take you through before the first pit stops come into play. Mal Moses down the inside. That was a surprise move. Where did that one come from? Beautiful down the inside into Desiro del Lago. Tired of having the place retaken, and he'll hope now to open up a gap before the next DRS zone. So looking at the penalties, that is 6 seconds for Ash and 3 for Marco. Then looking at position change, Mal Moses up 4 now, and is clearly a faster racer than he is a qualifier at this stage. Up 2 for Floyd. Must mention Director Ollie. I'm not sure what has happened, but looking at the way the pace has dropped off, you've got to assume Director Ollie has got some damage on the car, maybe floor damage potentially, that is upsetting his pace, because he, of course, qualified up onto the front row, was bested by Captain Nike away from the start, but he has inherent pace in there. We're waiting for those first stops, though, as Moist leads this race by 3.5 seconds. Does look like Mal Moses has got himself away clear from Sticky this time. So we'll go back up to the lead of the race. Half a second between these two, and I'll keep my eye on the rest of the gaps throughout the grid. The AlphaTauri then. Enjoy this livery while it lasts. Of course, it's about to change for the F1 season. We'll still be using this until sometime in June or July when the new game is released. But for now, we'll have to stick with AlphaTauri instead of VCarb. I refuse to say the whole name. Sticky's closing the gap again, though, to Mal Moses. Won't let him get away. Mal Moses is going to be fuming at the prospect of having to put up with Sticky over and over again. Sticky by name, Sticky by nature, it seems. To that potential 4th place, we have another retirement. We have Marco retiring, and it's on the run through Mergulo. I did say earlier on it's a tricky corner, and it has bested Marco. I wonder if we will get away here without the intervention of a safety car potentially, but he is out of the race. So we've lost 2 of our 10 starters now, and we'll see these 2 through this corner, and then we'll head back. That is Ash in 3rd position. 6 seconds of penalties on the car, though, and only a 2.4 second gap to the next 2 of Sticky, who has resumed 4th place against Mal Moses. An absolutely ding-dong battle between these 2 drivers. This is going to be fun to watch roll and roll throughout this race. It is lap 16 of 36. We're approaching the halfway point, and are we actually approaching the medium tyre window for those drivers who started on the hard tyre? Or are they willing to run all the way through the race to the very, very end and fit the soft tyres with just a few laps to go? We shall see. Looks like the retirement has caused no full course yellows or safety cars here for us, and that is good to see, because that always interrupts a race and has us rolling the dice as to who receives the good fortune or not. Next up then, Sticky is just 2 seconds. We have a pit stop at the halfway point. In fact, it's Captain Nike who's pitted. That must be for hard tyres. You've got a fancy for Captain Nike. So he exits the battle for second, and he's going to try and pick up the pace. And there's a mistake from Sticky. Oh, it was all going so well for Sticky, and it looks to be part of his front wing left on the exit of the S-Dos Senna. And that is an absolute nightmare, because he's got the entire circuit of the racetrack to go around before he can pit for a replacement front wing. There's no way he'll drive that car comfortably for the rest of the race in that condition. So looks like he is now going to be letting Mal Moses have the potential to battle for the podium. If Mal can get on terms with "Hey, I'm Ash," and there's no reason to suggest that he can't, now he's not fighting with Sticky anymore. Sticky has managed to stay in 5th position. Such was the pace and the gaps in the order. Captain Nike has exited on hard tyres in 6th place with a huge gap to climb. So 1 stop each for Nike and Floyd, and of course for Ollie. We have the gap to the leader then for Captain Nike, 29 seconds, but he will hope that he can make some changes here in terms of his setup and in terms of his race pace, and try and be quick now once those tyres heat up on the next lap or two. Then he'll go for it. Sticky Icky into the pits off the medium tyres. He's managed 17 laps almost on the medium tyres. The 18th lap has begun. We're approaching halfway point, so I expect to see a number of drivers heading into the pits very shortly. We have had several pit stops though now. Just the lead 4 who started on hards as they are Moist, Ash, Mal Moses and Speedy Spud. We've got Moist then 8.4 seconds to the good. And we'll have a look at the gap, shall we, to leader for this period, and see if Captain Knight can stem the gap. 29.6 now. Will he be able to stay with the pace of Moist? Will Moist decide to be watching that gap in particular? I'm not sure that's actually available to him as a driver, unless he's very good with his verbal settings and questions of the race engineer. This looks good from Speedy Spud, and Mal Moses just cannot get distance away from the drivers challenging him for that 3rd or 4th position, dependent on the ascendancy or otherwise of Captain Nike. That gap to the leader, 29 seconds clear now for strike 2 Captain Nike. As we look down, it wasn't possible to have a second bite of the DRS there for Speedy Spud, so he didn't manage to catch Mal Moses. But Mal is spending too much time today battling in traffic, battling with other drivers, and not enough time setting blistering laps on his own. So he is having a very busy day of it. Of course, a little bit of a respite currently for Moist, but he has lost about a second from Captain Nike in that time in which I was talking about Mal and Speedy here on track. Interesting to see, as the gaps have opened up significantly over this pit stop period. We are officially into the second half of the race as things stand, and Speedy Spud looking for a way through. Will either of these drivers pit now and get the medium tyres for the end of the race? It looked like Speedy was on his way in, but he declined the offer. So it's potentially that these drivers are thinking about whether they can get these hard tyres through to the mid to late 20s and try and fit the softs right at the end when the car is light, when the track is very, very grippy and the tyre wear is minimal as possible throughout the race weekend and sessions. The track evolution gets better and better, of course, throughout the game sessions until the very final lap of the Grand Prix. Very shiny racetrack surface here at Sao Paulo, and the drivers will be hoping that conditions stay as they are unless, of course, they're right at the tail of the field, in which case they might well be hoping for a change of conditions. We've got 6 seconds of penalties to pay on Ash's car. So whatever he is at in the race, you have to add 6 seconds. It is a little bit clumsy, as the gap to Captain Nike is now 27 seconds to the leader. Very, very important to be watching that gap during this pit stop period, because if it gets too close to 25 seconds, Moist will end up coming out behind Captain Nike, and potentially, though, on better tyres. So he's playing a little bit of a gambling game here, trusting in his own pace later into the Grand Prix, trusting in a good pit stop and in an outlap sequence, and hoping then that he's not stuck in any traffic and can make his way through. It's unlikely with only 8 cars on the grid. And I'll be looking at the track map as well to see. Looks like Floyd potentially and Ollie are battling hard. Let's ride with Floyd as he gets underneath the rear wing. This will be a good opportunity, but some good initial pace then away from the corner for the Alfa Romeo. And Floyd just could not get himself quite cued in there. Good defensive driving, very early signalling from the Alfa Romeo driver, from Ollie, whose teammate has now dropped behind him. And still no sign of changes between 3rd and 4th position on the road at the moment. That is a potential podium that those drivers are fighting over. The gap from Nike to Moist is now 25.6 seconds. So I think that's very much in the window to beat, to see Moist come out behind Captain Nike. And there's only a 6-second window between Captain Nike and Director Ollie here, the Alfa Romeo in our view, which will worry him. He doesn't want to come out of the pits behind those two. And that is more than possible. Here comes Floyd then. He's got the inside line going down into Curva 1. And by the time he gets to the apex, he's well ahead. Needs to just tuck into that apex so he can use the next 2 corners properly and defend. He's derating on the car. You can see the red light at the back of the car shining and flashing, and that means that he has dropped below 10% of ERS deployment, so he's vulnerable to someone with a decent amount of ERS. Keeping my eye then on the leader. When will he decide to pit? Captain Nike, 25.6 seconds, the gap down to him. Now, it's all over, frankly, if Moist can hold on to that gap and fit softs, because Captain Nike will be almost find it a defence impossible on those hard tyres later in the race. Lap 23 of 36. We have 14 to go. Looks like we've got one of the first of the hard starters in the pits, and it is Moist. So let's ride with Captain Nike and let's find out where that gap actually ends up. He has closing in. You can see Moist exiting the pits now. Moist is well ahead, managing to make this one work. He's gone for the medium tyres. I'm scratching my head a little and wondering why he didn't stop earlier for the mediums, if the mediums were what he was trying to do. It could be plan B, though. He might have been doing it with an option to use the softs later, but it just wasn't happening for him. So anyway, he's pegged the gap. He's back out on better tyres, is Moist, for the end of the race, and his gap is now 3 seconds just about. Ash holds the lead on the road, but with a 6-second penalty on the car and a pit stop still to make, that will not last very long. But still, the battle for the lead is between Captain Nike on screen and the car most immediately up ahead of Moist. So Ash is planning a pit stop fairly soon, as will Speedy Spud. Not this lap round, though, for Ash nor Spud. So interesting to see. And while those drivers just settle into their pace, we'll join the closest battle on the field, which is Floyd versus Ollie. And Ollie in 5th position. Floyd couldn't quite make the move stick and couldn't hold on to that position. Now he's derating and is actually, you've got Mal Moses on new medium tyres, hunting them down. It looks like we're going to have a 3-way battle for potentially 5th, 6th and 7th here. And Floyd already looking a little bit defensive, just weaving, and that just stops a tiny amount of the slipstream taking effect. Usually then see the car behind continue to follow that weaving, just to try and continue and pick up that speed. Just a little look at the precarious cameraman up on the cherry picker there at the top of the screen on the way between Decido del Lago and Ferradura. The sort of third straight, if you will, on the circuit. Not very long. Lap 24, just 13 laps to go. Just under. And now you can see Mal Moses right behind Floyd, and you can see the difference in speed and grip on the tyres. Ash has pitted, leaving just Speedy Spud, the only one yet to pit. Here is Mal Moses then. Should be good out of Yun Sao. Should be great under the slipstream. He's got the DRS, and he can use a little bit of ERS as well. That'll be very, very easy pass for him. And screams on through. Can even resume the racing line on the outside of the circuit. And he's back then on the hunt and moving forward. Our driver with the most places gained at the halfway period of the race was Mal Moses. And now he's got the opportunity to maybe grab another one or two. Thanks to having the tyre offset and the better tyres here at the end of the race. So just Spud out there, and it looks like we've got Moist going for it. Retro says he thinks, whoa, there's a change for the lead. That is Moist round the outside. Brilliant stuff. So Retro saying he thinks maybe Moist was just defending from a potential soft switch from somebody there, potentially even Captain Knight. But of course, as soon as Captain Knight had pitted and barring any safety car, he was safe. So, yeah, I wonder, though, whether in the back of his mind he quite fancied the idea of running the softs later on. That is a 1:10.3, new fastest lap from Moist as he did so, passing Speedy Spud. Speedy Spud is now into the pits, and Captain Nike is on the hard tyres. 6.4 seconds now behind Moist. He was right on his tail before, but who knows. As Speedy Spud has gone for the softs, so has Ash, so that's going to be interesting to see their pace later on. And Captain Nike is in second place. Your order then on lap 26 with 10 to go. We've got Moist, Nike, Moses, Ole, Ash, Floyd, Spud, Sticky left in the race. Just 8 from the 10 that started. And Captain Nike then drifting back slightly from Moist. It looks like Moist is going to have this his own way. He's only got to stay on the circuit, really, and manage his tyres now to the end. But Director Ollie, he's not on the best tyres, and he's got Ash coming up behind now on new soft tyres. Now, Ash, he could make a nuisance of himself, but he would have to really go some to get on the podium with the 6 seconds of penalties he's already picked up on the car. Moist with another fastest lap, now a 1:10.181, and he is dropping the hammer and going for it here. Tremendous stuff from your current champion. As Ash, just 0.3 of a second. Tremendous traction out of Yun Sao for Ash, and just super easy for him there to get past. Really very little that Ole could do about that particular move. That is all about tyre difference at this stage. Softs versus old hards, used rubbered in hards. That is a very unfair fight for Ole. And now Ash gets in between Ole and Mal Moses. And what can Ash do here? He can try and overtake, but can he put in a gap sufficiently large to hold on to the podium? That is what is facing him. It's a tall ask for Ash. But if he can maximise the use of these soft tyres to the very end of the race, it's not entirely impossible. I think the mediums will hold up well enough, though, for Mal Moses. But what we're talking about here are kind of robot drives. These are two humans driving these cars, and mistakes are very, very easy to make. Ash then, on successive laps, has managed to get within a second of the car in front. He's got the DRS. It's way too far back, surely, to make a move into turn 1, but he could well do this into Decido del Lago if he manages to use those soft tyres out of Curva do Sol effectively enough, using the apexes neatly, staying away from the raised section of the apex curb there. And he's greedy for it, and he's going for it, and he's got the DRS. Will he launch one down the inside? It's very late in the day, and he doesn't quite have the overspeed. Couldn't quite get any kind of overlap going there, and well managed from Mal Moses that time. But you've got to feel it's just a matter of time. For Mal Moses, though, if he knows the penalty situation for Ash, the longer he can hold Ash up, the fewer laps he gives of opportunity to Ash to extend the gap past the penalty. So it is a fascinating psychological battle between these two here. The longer that Mal Moses can hold off, the better for him later in this race. We have just 8 laps to go. Sticky picks up a penalty. It's not going to affect anybody dramatically as he is down in the last running position at the moment. Here is Ash this time. It's got to be a lot easier this time. DRS in action. Just had to pick his side, really. And that was all about where Mal Moses went, and an overtake then for third on the road. Now you know the challenge ahead of Ash, and that is those penalties to pay. All the drivers have pitted for their new tyres. Done their mandatory stops. In fact, Ash has picked up a third penalty that I didn't see before, and I've got to have to say that is an impossible task now for Ash, barring any problems for Mal Moses, for Ash to put that gap on pure pace in the remaining laps of this race. Strike Moist is in the lead. He has extended his gap out on favourable tyre difference now on the favoured medium tyre, out to 12.2 seconds from Captain Nike. In fact, Ash will start to be able to see Captain Nike in front, and maybe thinking about getting an extra place here. But as I say, with 9 seconds of penalties and a big fat rear wing on that Williams, dragging Mal Moses along on the circuit behind him, it's a very, very tall ask. I'm sure Mal will be quite happy to stay in the wheel tracks. Got the DRS here. That will make up for some of the tyre differential. How aggressive is Mal Moses feeling? He doesn't really need to make the pass unless Director Ollie manages to pick up some pace here and start threatening him from behind. Much better to try and pressurise and wait for a mistake. It may never come, but there's a second penalty. Well, the first penalty for Speedy Spud, but the second one in so many laps. And they're starting to add up now, of course, as the drivers get a little bit tired, as the conditions improve on track, but they also get just lose that shade of focus that is all important as the fatigue sets in. And for some drivers, it will be a sense of boredom because they'll be too far away from other drivers to really be able to push for a position. But of course, points for everybody still in the race here. Bit of a tail snap there for the Ferrari. In the cockpit, that wouldn't have felt like anything, but out on track, that looks quite dramatic for Mal Moses. But half a second, he just needs to stay within that 1 second window. Make use of the DRS, and they are both moving themselves towards Captain Nike, whose pace seems to have dropped off. I wonder if his motivation has dropped a little now that he's not fighting for the win, and he can be fairly certain that Moist is just out there running around like Max Verstappen in the last half of last season, just enjoying the sunshine and being in a comfortable seat. Well, Mal Moses, half a second underneath, and in fact there's a change for position here. Looks like Director Ollie, maybe a small mistake, or Speedy Spud has managed to transport himself forwards, and he's produced a 5th place on the road overtake. Only on the road though, with that penalty on the car at this stage of the race. Will he be able to stay far enough ahead of Director Ollie? Difficult one, but I think Director Ollie is on those hard tyres if memory serves. Yes, indeed. And you can see the drivers have started on the mediums and have switched to the hards. This has not been working for them. Captain Nike, fantastic launch off the grid, up to second position. Could even have had a shout at first position on that first lap, but couldn't quite make it work, and has had to take the pain later on in the race as his rivals are on those much better tyres. Lap 32 of 36. It's Moist from Nike, from Ash and Moses on screen here. And here comes Moses down the inside. Beautiful camera angle on the helicopter. Moses launches the move. Quite happy to fight with Ash. Obviously respects him enough to not worry that he's going to get punted or have contact. There is Mal Moses back into 3rd position. Ash needs to stay 6 seconds ahead of Spud to hold on to 4th. I'm sure Ash will just be thinking about finishing 3rd on the flag as things stand, but they're also not a million miles away from Captain Nike here. Medium tyres on Moses, hard tyres on Nike. And we could have a battle for second developing towards the end of our race. And I wouldn't have expected that just 5 laps ago. The pace for Captain Nike has really dropped off on these hard tyres. I don't know if the pace is actually dropping off. I can't see every lap count for them. But I'm talking about in relative terms to the ascendancy of Mal Moses, who was put in an absolute blinder of a race. Not necessarily the best qualifying in the world, but up 5 positions from his starting place and could get a 6th one as well. We shall see. I'll wait and hope for some action between the podium sitters at this at the culmination of this race. Ash not letting Moses get away. Still the closest battle on the field. Mal Moses in the Ferrari and Ash in that Williams, but trying to get on terms there with Captain Nike in the AlphaTauri in second. Moist has checked out, 15 clear seconds now in the lead, and it's a victory parade for the final 3.5 laps for, well, not even 3.5, just about to be 3 laps for Moist in the Aston Martin. Championship winning in both championships for Moist and the Aston Martin, and he has started his 34th lap of 36. The fans still enjoying this one, just as we are. And Ash then moving up, using the DRS, braking heavily on the soft tyres. Can't quite use them, and now they'll be about equal in terms of grip and wear rates to the mediums, so it's not going to be a big advantage to him to be running those soft tyres anymore. And he's dipped down underneath the 10% battery as well, so he's running out of tools to use to try and get this 3rd position on the road that he wants so much. But he's also needs to be thinking about defending that 5th position as well, as Speedy Spud living up to his name so far and moving forward. He's got a 3-second penalty, but 9 on Ash's car, don't forget. So that is going to be a big change at the flag. Nothing he can do about those at the moment. He may be able to appeal them in the steward's room if he felt they were two warnings were given instead of 1, but ultimately very few drivers will have a track limit penalty revoked. Moist picks up a penalty. The first thing Moist has probably done wrong all race long happens in the start of the penultimate lap for him, as he manages to pick up that 3-second penalty. It won't worry him. I think he's just pushing to try and secure that fastest lap yet again, get into the 109s if he can. Remember, qualifying times were just over the 108, so his race pace is fantastic, especially on medium tyres versus the softs of qualifying on fumes. Ash running wide now, also pushing, just suffering that dirty air as he tries to hold on with his fingertips to the back of Mal Moses' rear wing. He's about to step out of the DRS though, and Mal Moses might get a stab of DRS on the last lap or 2 of this race. That's what he'll be hoping for. Can Mal Moses actually get close enough to Captain Nike to have a chance here, down into maybe Reta Raposta? There goes Moist has started his final lap of the race. It is all about here. Will Mal Moses be able to get out of the final corner? Yon Sao, I don't think he will. Captain Nike has saved a little bit of ERS. Not much, though. He's down into the derating period, but so is Mal Moses, and he can't get the DRS. So it looks like he won't get this second position on the road. But no doubt on the drive of the day performance here. Mal Moses climbing 5 positions towards the end, but into the second sector, deep into the second sector goes our race leader, and our champion of season 2 is Moist, and about to finish this penultimate race of the championship the way that he has performed throughout the course of the whole championship so far. The 15 prior rounds, he's had a fantastic run, won the championship convincingly, both for drivers and for constructors, and he's on the acceleration phase here to finish out the race. Nothing now to do but point the car in the right direction and make sure you pick out your engineers in the crowd. He crosses the line to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, Moist by nearly 15 seconds at the death here. Tremendous performance from Moist, and we'll watch to see if there are any late changes, but it looks like the gaps are big enough. It looks like Captain Knight will convert third to second and secure a great position. Mal Moses, 5 places gained, and Ash will drop down behind Spud thanks to the penalty differential. As Director Ollie comes across the line, he will actually leapfrog Ash as well into 5th, Director Ollie, and despite dropping down the order mid-race, he still managed to pick up 5th position. Floyd crosses the line in the Mercedes in 7th, and Sticky will be the final one across the line, but it is Moist who takes the win and takes all the glory today. Tremendous stuff from Moist, a fantastic race, brilliant pole position. Great championship so far, and we look forward to seeing how the final round of the championship finishes up. Mal Moses, driver of the day, as I suggested he would be. Fantastic stuff to see. Hope you've been enjoying the race. If you have, make sure you leave a like and a subscribe, and tell your friends to join us at the same time, of course, next week on this very place as he lifts lifts the trophy. He's getting used to that one. He's going to have to start alternating hands in case he starts overusing an arm. And we go for the champagne time on the trophy, on the podium for Moist, for Moses, and for Captain Knight. The Aston Martin engineer enjoying his time on the podium as well. And your final results then, with the fastest lap, pole position and the win. Grand Slam goes the way of Strike Moist in the Aston Martin, a race time of 43.44. One penalty was the only thing he did wrong, but he got that fastest lap of a 1 minute 10.181. Captain Nike on a 1:11 wasn't close in terms of fastest lap. Mal Moses in 3rd position, followed by Speedy Spud. They were close towards the end. A great performance there from the Canadian driver Mal Moses in the Ferrari. Next up, Director Ollie in the Alfa Romeo, followed by Ash. Floyd and Sticky brought up the rear. We had Marco and Chuck for a also brief period. Thank you, though, to everyone who has enjoyed the race. Thank you to Retro, especially for his messages. And thank you for everyone for taking part. Thanks for having me. This has been Webbo on the mic, and we will catch you on the next race day.